Hey y'all, hey. So my name is Celeste. I'm a therapist from Boston. If you're new to this podcast, I just want to say thank you so much for giving me a try. I've been podcasting since July 2nd, 2018, and it's been a long time. There's a ton of episodes where I talk to people that are empowering other people. And then there are these daily shifts where every single a couple days I talk about a subject and I help you really think through it. And the goal behind this podcast is not for a quick fix to happen. If you're somebody that is on your healing journey and you're trying to get these little small nuggets, I promise you this podcast is for you because every time you give your brain new information, you put yourself in a new environment, you're going in a direction that you want to go, your mind and your system will have no other choice but to fall in line with the direction that you're taking it. And a lot of times I think we don't make the small moments for change like a big deal. And I need you to make it a big deal. Like when you get up and you go for that walk, when you make your bed, when you take that deep breath instead of cussing somebody out, all of those moments are small moments that can create big change. And then we have podcasts like today where it's just me and I'm talking about an issue and I'm helping you think through it. So one of the things that I know just from being a therapist and working with people, and this is a post that got a lot of likes and shares, where it talked about how you are very exhausted. Talking about like really bone tired, exhausted, but you have a hard time sitting down. Anytime you find yourself sitting down, you start to feel guilty and your brain doesn't shut off. And then you find something else to do. So rest starts to feel like impossible. And a lot of times you think like it's a time management issue. You'll find yourself feeling lazy or asking yourself, like, what's wrong with me? Right. I want you to start thinking about the fact that this could be a nervous system problem. One of the things, so I also have a wellness center. If you're new here, I have a wellness center, and the theme in my wellness center is nervous system regulation. We have somatic classes, we have workshops. We also have therapists here, but the goal behind the regulation piece is because there's a ton of books. Therapy's great. I'm not knocking therapists because I'm a therapist, right? Therapy is great. The books are great. The knowledge you have are great. There are people that are very self aware, but then they're feeling stuck. A lot of times it's your body. What's happening in your body is this trauma that's just holding on, because it holds on to memory, it holds on to what's happened. And so when you're trying to rest, unfortunately, it starts to feel impossible. So I want to kind of start with, why does rest feel impossible? Now, your body may have been in survival mode for a long time. And so, when your body's in survival mode for a long time, it really doesn't know how to shut down. It doesn't know how to slow down. This is not something that somebody sat down and said, "Hey, Celeste, I want to teach you how to be in survival mode," right? It's passed on in our DNA. It's passed on from the way we've watched things happen. It's passed on through our experiences. We're equipped to survive and to prepare for the worst case scenario. I've said this before on the a podcast, but like animals, when they're in the wild, their prey comes, their amygdala goes off, they're in this fight or flight mode, and they run, right? They get to safety. Once they're in safety, what do? They go back to baseline. When it comes to us as humans, the trauma happens, something happens, we don't process it, right? Because something that's so powerful about us is that we have a creative mind. We can create fear and like really get ourselves worked up, or we can go into the other direction, create faith, process what's happened. A lot of us haven't been taught how to process what's happened. And so, unfortunately, it becomes the way the brain starts to function. It starts to be worried all the time. It prepares you for like what's going to happen. Literally, busyness can become your baseline because when you're busy, then you don't have to think about things. I'm not saying the thoughts aren't happening, but it's not happening on a conscious level. And so, because of some of the ways that you survive, being still starts to feel wrong. It feels like it's unsafe. It feels like when you start moving, your brain is basically interpreting things as a threat, like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Right? So I want you to like really take this in, because a lot of times I think you start to just say like, what's wrong with me? And you just stay there. I want you to think about like, what happened to me? How did I get to this point? You know, rest starts to feel like you're behind, like you're irresponsible, like you're being lazy. And so when these moments happen, what do? You just keep going. And if you had a car and you're pressing the brake and the gas at the same time, eventually the car breaks down, right? What happens when we keep going? Blood pressure, diabetes, back pains, shoulder pains, like all of these things that are happening happens to your body. A few weeks ago, I talked about how my body responded to losing my brother and how I just got really stiff, like it really shut down. That was hard, but I was grateful that I was even able to recognize that was happening. And so, unfortunately, we're not taught how to pay attention to what's going on. We just keep going on. So, where does this come from, right? We understand the thing, but how did this happen? A lot of us were raised in environments where rest was not modeled or even allowed. Idle hands messaging, you heard that, right? Idle hands is the devil's playground. Rest is something you had to earn through productivity, like being productive is something that is equated to success. Rest is not equated to success. You ask your grandmother, your great grandmother, like, oh, what did you do for rest? Or what did you do to regulate your nervous system? They'll be like, what are you talking about? Right? A lot of people, they'd be like, my nerves are bad. I'm feeling overstimulated all the time. A lot of people can, if you think about your life or even you as a mom, and this is not to shame you or a dad, a mom or a dad. This is not to shame you. This is not to make you feel bad. It's not to make you feel bad about your parents, right? Because a lot of the ways that we operate have been ways that we were taught. I want you to think about like those moments where you've been on edge, right? You just walk in the house, you maybe work was fine, but you come in the house is dirty, this wasn't done, you didn't take the chicken out, and you start spazzing out, right? A lot of times we're holding on to so much and we're trying to keep it together. And unfortunately, we start to fall apart in areas that we may feel guilty about. We may feel bad. We might find ourselves screaming and then later feeling upset. A lot of times it's because you're on edge. You've been living in this chronic state for so long. And if you grew up having to be on all the time, whether it's emotionally, physically, or literally, your body starts learning that relaxing was not something safe. And I want to say you became the strong one. And if you're not watching this on YouTube, I'm using quotation marks, right? Because I want to re identify what strong means. Strong doesn't mean that you don't cry or you're not showing emotion. Strong is about being able to show you're vulnerable, understanding like what you need, understanding what's happening to you, right? But you became that person that didn't show any kind of like effects of what's going on the outside. On the inside, trust me, you're human, right? There's people that can walk around and they seem like they're fine, but their insides are literally breaking down. So you become the strong one, the reliable one, the one who holds it all together. Not a healthy way to be. And that role, it does not come with an off switch. The moment that becomes your personality and the way that you are, your system starts to learn how to stay in that state of being, right? It doesn't mean you can't change that state of being, but that's where it is. So now let's talk about what's actually happening in your body during these moments that things are happening. One, your cortisol level, it stays elevated even when the threat is gone. So when we wake up in the morning, our cortisol level spikes, right? It's supposed to help us like deal with threats. Like cortisol is not bad, but it becomes bad when it's like overloaded, right? So for me, this is something I learned last year about the cortisol. When I wake up in the morning, I used to just be on the go, do this, let me check my email. I don't do none of that anymore, right? But what I do now is I'll play some music, right? I don't check social media. I do not check my email. I don't check anything other than me, right? I create systems where I start off slow because I recognize like my cortisol level's high. And when cortisol level is high, it creates more inflammation, and inflammation keeps your body sick. It keeps you feeling stuck. It keeps the weight on. You're calling yourself like, oh, I don't even eat that much. I don't understand why I can't lose weight. Why is all this fat around me? I learned this again last year, especially for women, right? As we get older, and if we're not eating enough protein, if we're under eating, our system thinks that we are struggling, and it's going to create more, keep the fat on to protect our organs. And a lot of people, they may be going to the gym, you may be moving your body, you may be eating well, but you're always on edge, right? Your nervous system, it feels stuck. So your nervous system is stuck in a sympathetic mode, like the fight or flight response. Rest requires your parasympathetic system to kick in, to rest and digest, right? These are things that we didn't know. But if your body never learned how to get there, then rest will not come naturally, right? And I'm somebody, rest did not come naturally for me. Even when I remember when I went from working in my office to working at home, I had to learn how to put my computer away. I created Fridays was the day I was going to rest. But when I started that process, it felt so wrong. I'm like, but I got to do these things, right? I had to retrain my brain that rest is a part of being productive, because when I'm able to rest, I'm able to give out more. I'm able to do more. I'm able to be a better mother. I'm able to be a better person to myself, a better partner, right? Rest is so important. And it's not something that, like, if you haven't learned, you can't relearn. And also, I want to be clear that regardless of what's happened and how you operate, you can create new pathways. Your brain can create new pathways and learn a different way. You listening to this podcast or watching this podcast right now, your brain is taking in new information. So that's something that I really want you to understand. But this is why you can be in bed and exhausted and still not be able to sleep, right? It's kind of like, I'm in bed, I can't sleep. Why can't I sleep? Your system is always on. This is why vacation starts to feel uncomfortable for the first few days, right? You go on vacation, maybe you're uncomfortable. Your body is waiting for the next thing to go wrong, right? Your body waiting for the next thing to go wrong is not because it's nothing wrong with your system. Your system's doing what it's designed to do. Like, we were taught that we have to do the dishes, we have to do this, we have to be there, we have to be on call. So even if you're on vacation and you're not, these things aren't happening, your system is so used to it happening that it just goes with the direction that it's been used to going, right? And so what I want you to gather from what we just talked about is that these things are things that were built through years, months of operating through, even in our DNA, right? Things are passed through our DNA. So as you're listening to me talk about this, I really want you to understand how sometimes the way that you're operating is happening because of your experiences, because of what you've been through. Now we talked about that. Now let's talk about what do we do about it? Because one thing I'm going to do, we're going to talk about the problem, but I'm also going to talk about what to do about it. So rest has to be practiced. It doesn't just happen. I don't care how much that, you listen to this and you're like, oh, shoot, I got to rest. When you leave this episode, life is going to life, and your system is not going to automatically remember. I share this all the time. During the pandemic, I told myself I want to drink more water. And literally every time when I'm by my computer, I have water with me. As if you're not watching this, I'm showing my water bottle. I literally I put a sticky note on my computer and I said, don't forget to drink water. So every time I open my computer, the sticky note will be there. Now, me not having my water bottle feels weird. As I was working on becoming an entrepreneur, I started reading habits of a successful person and an entrepreneur. One of the things that I've seen is that they made up their bed every day. And so for me, when I get up in the morning, not making up my bed feels like weird. Like, I can't not make up my bed. Like, making up my bed is kind of like blinking my eye, kind of like going to the bathroom or drinking water, right? So rest has to be practiced. It doesn't just happen overnight. It's something that you have to teach your nervous system that stillness is safe, right? And I want you to think about starting small, just 5 minutes of intentionally doing nothing, just regulating and breathing can signal to your body that you're okay, right? And I say like 5 minutes because you may be like, oh, 5 minutes, I got that, I could do that. You'll be surprised if you're not used to being still. 5 minutes can seem like a long time, right? Just 5 minutes of being still, taking a deep breath, recognizing what's going on, can really help teach your system. You start at 5 minutes, 2 weeks later, you add 2 more minutes, right? You're slowly building up these pathways to teach your system that rest is okay. Movement before rest can help discharge built up stress and energy. Stop waiting until you've earned rest to rest, because rest is productive. Every single morning, I move my body. When I get up in the morning to move my body, do I always feel like getting up in the morning? Absolutely not. But I know I know what's going to be produced from me walking. I'm somebody that struggles with a lot of anxiety, right? You would never know it. I don't present it physically, literally, but inside my body, my stomach turning, my heart racing, like where it's like, okay, what's next, right? That's something that I recognize when I move my body, I'm moving that energy out of me, right? I go to the gym sometimes, but I don't talk about the gym in that way because I want to help you think about moving your body where money doesn't have to be something that you use, right? It can literally be moving your body and walking in outside, right? When you're walking outside, you're hearing the cars, you're seeing the trees, you're seeing the people, you're listening to the sounds. What's happening is your system is able to get present because it's looking at what's happening now. And when you're present in the now, it helps you not think so much inwardly at all the thoughts and things that are going on. Even if it's just for a moment, that moment matters and it counts. So the goal is not just to sleep, it's actually to recover your nervous system, right? That is the goal. When you think about like what you're trying to do in life and find yourself feeling overwhelmed, when the tiredness that you're feeling and you close your eyes and you're like, why can't I go to sleep? Or if you feel like you have to drink before you go to sleep, if you feel like you have to like use substances before you go to sleep, I want you to think about a new way of operating. I want you to ask yourself, like, what is my nervous system feeling? And even before you actually go to bed to close your eyes throughout the day, starting first thing in the morning, I want you to think about how can I start my system without allowing it to be affected by the world. If you choose, and I'm going to say choose, right? If you choose to grab your phone and go on social media, you're choosing to let the world just dictate the way your day's going to go, right? I want you to understand, like, you have choices in all of the things that you're doing. Unfortunately, the systems that are built in America, they don't teach you this stuff. So you don't even recognize what's happening. Your email, first thing in the morning, I want you to think about not checking your email. The news, you know, when I was younger, I used to watch the news at 6 a.m., read the newspaper first thing in the morning. I literally was preparing my day for stress, not realizing that that was happening. So in the morning, you can actually like get up and stretch, brush your teeth, right? Go for a walk if that's possible. Even if it's not possible, play some music, right? Affirm that today's going to be a good day. All of those small moments, like the goal is to make your today better than your yesterday. And every time you make the small moments, I promise you it adds up. Do not discount the small moments that you're trying to create. So, as we close, here's the shift, right? I'm all about shifting the way you think. I want you to know you're not lazy for needing rest, right? When you're feeling tired, when you're feeling exhausted, I need you to say that I am not lazy for feeling rest. I also want you to say, rest is allowing me to be productive and successful. When I don't rest, my productivity drops. When I don't rest, it's hard for me to be successful, right? Your body has been working overtime for so long. Rest is not a reward, it's actually a requirement. I need you to work on giving yourself permission to stop your body because it's waiting for you to give it that permission, right? Your system is waiting for you. Our system can only go at the pace that we take it. What pace are you taking it? And if you can start first thing in the morning, I promise you over time, it starts to make a difference. I'm a living witness. I'm somebody who's talking at like, even when I was doing the things that I'm doing, even when I was doing those things, I promise you it felt like, is this really going to work? But I said, you know what? What's happening with me now is not working. Why not try something different? Right? So I want you to know that yes, it may feel weird. Yes, it may seem like it's not going to work, But if what you're doing now isn't working, why not give yourself the liberty to try something different? You deserve it. You owe yourself that. So I hope this was helpful. I hope this makes sense. If anything I ever say resonates for you, understand that you have the power to create change, but first you need to start to have faith in yourself. When you have faith in yourself, literally nobody can take that away from you. I need you to start believing in yourself and believing it's possible. And if you're somebody that struggles with that and you live in a lot of fear, please understand that fear and faith, they're both unknown, right? But what will you choose? The reality is that something may not work, but the other part of that is something may work. Why not lean in towards the part that may work, right? And the more you start to visualize yourself in the direction you want to go, your mind starts to show you how it's possible. Your mind can't show you how it's possible if you're not even dreaming and envisioning it. If you're only envisioning fear and all the hard things that can happen, your mind will show you all the hard things that are going to happen, right? So the power is yours. We can create new neural pathways. We can create the way things operate a little different. So thank you so much for rocking out with me. I hope this was helpful. I hope this makes sense. Don't forget to share this. If this is something that spoke to you, don't forget to share this episode with somebody that you love. And I will see you next time.